Malcolm, when I see you, I see a person who has contributed to chess in so many different ways. As a player, a journalist, a trainer, an entrepreneur, so much. What do you like best about what you have done in chess?
I just love playing more than anything else. I think about when's my next tournament all the time. That was one of the worst things about COVID, really, was not being able to play at all. And I spend quite a lot of my time thinking, when can I get far enough ahead of all my work so I have a bit of time to go and play?
But when you are here and you're seeing the English team playing, I am sure you also feel like, oh, if I could just sit down and play.
Yeah, sometimes you get very sort of into the actual struggle and wish you can actually play the game for them. Or obviously that would be a very bad idea because I'm missing hundreds of ELO points. But there are some occasions. There was one game early on in the tournament when one of our players was winning very easily and it was the last game to finish, and I just thought, okay, good, we'll be back for an early dinner. As long as he doesn't allow this particular sacrifice, which will prolong the game, shouldn't affect the result, but you know, there'll be some tricks, and he allowed it. And heart sank. That's late dinner then. But it's also nice just to wander around and look at the other games as well, and seeing the great players and try and predict the moves. In fact, it's in a way I sort of test myself all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, do I understand this position, or do I have no idea what's going on? Can I predict what Shaq's going to play, or maybe what Gukesh is going to play? Or obviously, there's no point trying to predict what Shirov's going to play.
But where does this sort of love for chess come from? Because at some point, you see, there are so many other things which have taken over in your life, but you still sort of are rooted into chess. Like right now, you want to see what's the next move. Was there some kind of a thing that happened when you were young that just made a deep impact on you?
No, I mean, I've always loved chess. I mean, the only reason I learned to play was because I was being very annoying when my father and my cousin were playing. And I just wouldn't shut up, I was 3 years old. What's this? I want to know. And so they thought the best way to shut me up was to teach me how to play. Yeah. So I guess it's just something, some people just love games and chess, don't they? It's just natural. I think there's no particular event I could look at. Although when you're a child, I think if you're successful, I mean, I remember very well once the BBC came to a chess tournament in Liverpool. So I'm from Liverpool, and Liverpool was actually blessed with probably the largest junior tournament in the world at the time. It ran in the 60s and the 70s, and the BBC heard about it, and so they sent a reporter up for their sort of one of their flagship news programs in the morning, and they interviewed my brother, who was also playing, because they saw him sitting on his own, looking at a pocket chess set, whereas all the other children were outside playing football. So they thought, interesting one. All right, let's talk to him. So they asked him one or two very sort of normal questions, and then they said to him, well, what do you like most about chess? And there was a long silence, and then my brother said, winning. And I think once you've got that bug, once you get that kind of sugar rush, it stays with you. Although, I'm very impressed with people who are just able to give up as well. I mean, a lot of my contemporaries just stopped playing. Very, very strong players who got either to international master or grandmaster, and they decided that playing chess just wasn't compatible with a career. And that's one of the hazards, I think, of English chess. Probably one of the reasons why we're not as good as we could be is we have quite a strong economy. We're a G7 country, and although we complain about it, we have high living standards. And I was having a conversation with a Russian grandmaster not so long ago, and it made a big impact on me. And it went along the lines of, well, of course, unfortunately, a lot of our best guys can just go off and get really great jobs, which is very annoying, so they end up not becoming incredibly strong players. And my Russian friend said to me, grandmaster friend said to me, well, actually, that sounds like rather a good thing to me, that there are lots of good high-paid jobs in your country. So I hadn't thought of it that way.
True. When you put yourself in the shoes of
their
others.
shoes,
yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
That's true. It's also one of the reasons why Luke McShane is one of the strongest he's called the strongest amateur in the world.
Well, there is this tradition in Britain of having the world's strongest amateur. I mean, I think it used to be Jonathan Mestel, who was an academic at Cambridge and then Imperial College London. And now Luke is still arguably the strongest amateur, yeah.
And you yourself were very strong. Like, I think you've beaten Vishy Anand when you were young.
I have 1.5 out of 2 against Vishy. Well, okay, I mean, he was fairly young, but he was very, very strong. But even when he was very, very, very strong, he used to play very quickly. And one of the things I discovered, I was a little bit ahead of my time, was the London system. And I very occasionally played it in certain situations, particularly against people who I thought were a little bit impatient. And I played a London system, a sort of a London system that became a Slav defence in reverse. And I was like 2 tempi ahead. Because Dibby Barua, a lot of Indian players used to come to England and win the British Championship. In fact, they won it so many times. And I want to emphasise to all the Indian viewers out there, this decision had nothing to do with me. But the Indian players won it so many times, like Ramesh won it, for example, that actually they just stopped them playing. Yeah. And but when Dibby Barua came and played some tournaments, one of the openings he introduced, I would say, into Britain was d4, d5, knight f3, a6. And I just kind of had a suspicion that Vishy might do that. I don't know why, I just thought, maybe he'll do that. So I thought, I'll just go bishop f4. And if he plays c5, I'll just take it. And if I go b4 and he goes a5,
he's lost a tempo.
I've gained another tempo, happy days. And yeah, I mean, after about 20 moves, the position was resignable.
Wow.
But the really bizarre thing about it, I might be wrong about this, but my memory of it is that I think that Vishy got a down float to me, because I think I only drew my first game. It was in the Lugano Open, and Vishy was on 1 point and I was only on a half. And I was thinking, well, I'm only annoying to draw the first game against a weaker player. At least I'll get an easy opponent on a half point. I got Vishy. My second game with him was very funny. It was a rapid play game, and it was a Nimzo Indian with e3, I think, and it was in a tournament run by a company called BIS Banking Systems, who sponsored some rapid play tournament. Actually, it was played at the Park Lane Hotel, where the World Championship match between Kasparov and Karpov was played in '86. So we played on the same stage, in the same ballroom, and Vishy and I were playing in the qualifier for the main tournament. And yeah, so it was a Nimzo Indian with e3, and Vishy got it a bit wrong, and I won some material, but he just sacrificed his queen and made a fortress, like, instantly. And I was trying to think, how should I try and break this fortress? And then I looked at the clock, and I remember, like, the horror of this moment. I looked at the clock, and I had 1 minute left, and Vishy had 26. This is before digital clocks, right? So we're talking, mechanical clocks. So my clock is like this, with the flag. Maybe people have no idea what this is, look it up, but we used to play with mechanical clocks, and the minute hand used to come up and it used to push up a flag, and at the moment that you ran out of time, donk, the flag fell. That's how you knew.
Right.
And I see my flag is sort of like this, and Vishy's got 26 minutes left. Can we draw this instead, please? Never forget that moment. I was just, feeling really good about the game, and then,
It's amazing, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, okay, I played, but whereas I think my chess knowledge is reasonable, my nervous system and practical ability is very, very, very low. So after a while, I just thought, actually, I'm never going to be really good enough. So I just gave up playing professionally, really. Just made it a part-time thing. I think you've got to be very objective in chess. I think objectivity is one of the most important parts of chess. And it was clear to me, there were other players around like Julian Hodgson, for example, and John Nunn, John Spielman, all these guys. I thought, well, these guys are just so much better than me. I'll never get to that level. And I think that's the level you need to be to make a success of it, or a real success of it. So, because I love chess, I thought, well, let's find some other ways to try and make a living in chess. And so I did, almost everything else,
I think that the first thing you did was you bought in '92 the chess and bridge shop?
No, the first thing I did was I published openings booklets. So some of the first openings little booklets were produced by myself and a guy called John Manley, who produced the fantastic magazine Kingpin, which people can find on the internet still. It's not published anymore. And so we produced a series of books called Developments in the. And it would be developments in the Marshall or developments in the F4 Sicilian. And remember, this is before ChessBase, before the internet, so books were very important.
And you published them?
And we published them, and we made a little business out of that. And then I started teaching, and then I saw ChessBase for the first time. So Frederick Friedel had taken ChessBase and made a deal with a company called Cytec, who made chess computers, to distribute ChessBase in the UK. And when I heard about ChessBase, I thought, wow, this will really change everything. And I looked at it, and I went to see the people who were doing it, and it turned out they needed someone to run their operation. So I said, well, all right, I'll do that. But it was fairly part-time. Not many people even had a computer in those days. So there wasn't a lot of money in it for the company. So in the end, the guy said, do you want to take it? I said, well, if ChessBase in Hamburg will let me, I will. So I did. And so I was the ChessBase distributor. That was my second thing that I did. And then because I used to advertise in Chess Magazine, when Chess Magazine was bought by this entrepreneur who came to a terrible end because he did some rather illegal things, an enormous publishing empire he had, his name was Robert Maxwell, and he bought this chess company which owned a chess magazine and a bridge magazine actually, as well as a mail order operation. He owned it, but when he died and his whole empire came crashing down because he'd overstretched, they put it up for sale, and I was advertising ChessBase in the magazine, and I thought, if the magazine dies, actually, how am I going to reach all the British chess players? You know, there was no social media in 1992. You know, there was no, the internet was just at the very, very beginning. I thought, I have to buy this magazine. So so I bought it together with a few other people, and I thought, well, we'll start a chess shop as well. There should be a chess shop in London. It must be possible. Because everyone used to get their chess books from one of two places. There was an old bookshop called Foyles, which still exists, but is much more is modern now. And Foyles was a horrible place. There was no one to help you. They didn't care. And if you wanted to buy something, you had to take it somewhere, then go away and pay, then come back and show that you'd paid, and then they gave you the books. I mean, it was the most awful customer experience. And I was fortunate because I knew a little bit about customer experiences because I'd been to America a couple of times, where things were so much more advanced in that sense. So I thought, if people will buy books from Foyles, and they used to buy the openings books that I produced, if people will buy books from Foyles, they'll surely buy them from a place where there's someone to tell you, give you advice, and people are reasonably friendly. So let's try and set up this shop. And people said I was mad. And some of the people I was in business with left. They said, this is insane, you're crazy. But 30 years later, it's still there.
It's amazing, yeah, because I feel like even now, if someone sets up a chess shop, it's dicey, yeah, whether it'll work or not. To believe it in 92 and to do this, that must have taken some courage.
Yeah, it was risky. I mean, I think it was risky, but my intuition was that it would work somehow, just because I knew, broadly speaking, how many books I sold in Foyles, and I kind of extrapolated that to all the books that they sold and made some rough judgments. But also, actually, there'd been a chess shop in London before, somewhere in South London. It hadn't done particularly well, but it hadn't been a complete catastrophe as I understood it. So I thought, no, I think it might. It might just work. And also, we were quite lucky. We had quite a big place because the economy wasn't very good, so rents were quite cheap. And so it meant we could stage events as well. So we did all sorts of wonderful things. We used to play rapid play tournaments, weekends of chess. We had Dvoretsky came once. We used to do book signings. I mean, the first book signing we did, when Gary's first book on My Great Predecessors #1 came out, I got Gary over to do a lecture and a book signing. And so many people queued around the shop that the police came. They were just like, what's going on? It was a great success. And so we used to do these events very, very regularly. And it was great, yeah.
How big is the shop now? So
we moved out of the premises in Euston Road in 1992 to a smaller shop. But it's in a much busier area. It's in Baker Street. So we're actually just down the road from Sherlock Holmes. And we're very close to Oxford Street, so there are a lot of tourists. So it's a nice location, Baker Street.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you also have written a lot of articles in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And also every day.
Every day, yeah. So I was trying to think how many it is. I think it's now about 11,000. And in fact, it's one of my projects is I'm going to dig them all out of the archives. I started, I can't remember exactly when I started, like I think about 88.
Wow.
Something like that's been going, and I've been writing every day since then. So I think, something like, 88, 34, 10,200. Yeah, no, I mean, maybe we're pushing 12,000 now, aren't we?
Wow.
Yeah.
And you do this even now, yes?
Yeah, I'm doing this at the Olympiad. Yeah, but it's great. I mean, people are playing such fantastic moves and such awful moves as well. It makes writing the columns really easy. It's very easy to find a win in one. Lots of wins in one move. Smirnov Duda, that was a nice one. Thank you very much. Queen takes G2 check. Yeah, that's the column. So it's the great thing is lots of material, and I can also add a little bit of colour to it because I'm right there. So I'm really enjoying writing the columns. But yeah, no, I'm writing 7 columns a week. Although now only 6 go in the paper. They changed it, but I'm still writing them because actually I'll soon be publishing them as PDFs.
Okay.
For everyone to do, and maybe I might do also a playthrough. So I think my idea is to basically make it a kind of a subscription service. So say like for $10 a year you can have a chess column every day or something, which I think would be nice, it would be fun. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think consistency is something which is very difficult, and you doing it for 34 years, that's just insane. I mean, it's something people start off with a lot of energy, and then at some point,
Yes, but it's got a little bit easier with the internet and computers. I mean, I think I started with like an old Amstrad word processor. You can look that up, young people. But in the old days, when I would write my articles, I used to there was no internet. Okay, imagine a world without internet, people. So you used to have to send your article down the telephone. And the Daily Telegraph had rows and rows of women with headsets and typewriters. And the journalists would phone through their copy, was the word used. You would phone through your copy. But chess isn't easy. So I would phone up, there was always the one woman who was brilliant at doing the chess. And I would phone her up, and she would say, okay, go ahead, Malcolm, off you go, dear. So off I would go, I would give a few sentences about the tournament. He said, we've got the game now, Malcolm? I said, yes, are you ready? Jean, yes, she says, I'm ready. Okay, so it goes like this. 1 space, little e for Eric 4. Space, little e for Eric 5. New line, please, Jean. 2 space. And if you had a 70-move game, that was quite a performance.
Oh my God.
But these women were so good, they never made a mistake.
Wow.
They never made a mistake. And diagrams were also a bit of a performance. So I used to have to, I don't remember what I did with diagrams. I think I used to print them out and then send a fax. You can look that one up as well, young people. Fax. Yeah.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, and then when the internet came, I could send it by email. I mean, this was fantastic. This was like a revolution. So it's a lot easier now.
Yeah.
And also with the engine, I don't make quite so many mistakes. Actually, I've been doing some chess columns on the Fischer-Spassky match because it's 50 years ago yesterday.
Right.
50 years ago yesterday was the poison pawn game, where Spassky won second game over the board.
Right.
And with his knight b1 idea. And it's very interesting because ChessBase still has the old annotations. And it's quite interesting to just see how completely wrong they are. And they're very strong players, annotating the games, but a lot of it's wrong.
Right.
Which is quite interesting. And one of the things, I mean, for the theory merchants out there, for the people who play the Najdorf, the conventional wisdom was when white takes on f6 in the Najdorf and goes bishop e2, you play h5 to stop bishop h5. I mean, I believed that solemnly from 1970 when someone first told me to about 2010, I think, when I think I analysed the position with the computer the first time. But actually, in this main line after bishop e2, bishop h5 isn't a threat, it would seem. The computer just says, actually, meh.
Or maybe it is. And 2022 engine.
Maybe alpha -3 will convince us that we were wrong.
That's true.
Yeah.
And apart from this, you also started a super tournament
Sure.
in London, the London
Yes.
Chess Classic, which
Yes.
is one of the best events in the world of chess. How did this come about?
So this came about because I got an email one day. I think it was sent on by the English Chess Federation, and it said, "There's a gentleman who wants to buy some chess lessons for his brother. Who would like to do it?" And I looked at the email and I thought, well, don't know if I can be bothered really. I've got so many pupils. And then I looked underneath and I thought it was a financial company where the guy worked. I thought, oh, okay, maybe potential sponsor. And the guy I met and I taught was a really, really smart guy, ran a hedge fund, and he very kindly has supported 13 London Chess Classics, making it probably the most expensive chess lesson in the history of the game, really. And however, the reason we ran the London Chess Classic was to develop the Chess in Schools and Communities charity. And the charity now is quite mature. It has a very good fundraising operation and successfully charges for the chess lessons that it delivers to schools and to prisons and to libraries and things. And we're much more stable financially. And so really, I'm not sure we need a London Chess Classic to support the charity anymore, which really brings into question the future of the Classic, actually. I have to find an alternative sponsor who's looking for a different objective in order for this tournament to continue. So it's quite possible, actually, that we've seen the last one, but we'll see.
So the point of holding the London Chess Classic was to raise funds for chess in schools.
And to promote it as well, yes.
So how would that work out? Like someone...
So I invented some ideas. So I invented something called the Pro Biz Cup, which I just took from Pro Am Golf. So you have pairs of players, one of the grandmasters and a businessman playing another pair, and they make big donations to the charity to play in this. I also invented this idea of the closing dinner, where the players go around playing as simultaneous against each table. And people would pay a lot of money to come to the dinner and make donations there. So yeah, that was how that was. And also just the general noise around the tournament would massively increase awareness. You know, we've had lots of television coverage of the tournament over the years. So we've promoted chess and the charity and the idea of chess in your school very effectively with it. But I think now we just don't need to do that anymore. So I'm going to have to think about doing the London Chess Classic either differently or not at all.
But I have been there once and it was tremendous.
You wrote a beautiful article about the 13 different things, wasn't it, in the London Chess Classic? Yeah. I still sometimes try and remember, what did Segal mean when he said 13? Can I count the 13? But I can never get to 13, so I have to look up your article again every time.
But it was so nice, and the entire vibe was so positive. And I think the chess world really would love that it continues.
Oh, I mean, I'm working on it, but what I have done instead, I would point out there is a practical problem with you coming back to the London Chess Classic at Olympia, and that is that they've knocked Olympia down.
Oh my God.
So the Olympia Conference Centre is no more. It is the proverbial Monty Python ex-parrot, so we can't have it there. But I'm doing a new event this last couple of years where I take over Trafalgar Square for a day, and that's called Chess Fest. And we managed to run it in COVID last year, and it was a huge success. But this year it was crazy. I mean, I think we had more than 11,000 people came.
Oh.
I mean, I just wonder if it's one of the biggest chess events ever held. So we cover Trafalgar Square with giant chess sets, with tents where people can learn chess or play blitz, and we have a human chess. So last year we did because it was 170 years since the Immortal Game, we did the Immortal Game. And this year we did Deep Blue Kasparov Game 6, because it's 25 years since that. And we did Spassky Fischer Game 3, the Modern Benoni with Knight H5, and we did the human chess for that. And you can see it online. There's lots of really nice videos about it, chess-fest.com. And we also did Chess Fest in Liverpool, and we did Chess Fest in Hull, which is a city in on the east coast of England. And my plan next year is to do Chess Fest London, Chess Fest Liverpool, Chess Fest Hull, Chess Fest Nottingham, Chess Fest Birmingham. And then maybe we'll do some chess fests in other countries. Maybe we can do one in India. Because we play matches between the cities, you see, on the big screen, which is really nice.
It's amazing.
So yeah.
I mean, you get an idea and you start executing it. Is that it, or?
Yeah,
I mean,
but I'm very lucky. I've got a fantastic team of people who work with me. they execute it. I think of the ideas and try and raise the money.
Because somewhere I think of it myself, and I see, like, I try to do a lot of things to promote chess, but what you have done is something that I would love to do myself, because you have achieved something in everything. Like, it's just so difficult.
It's kind of you to say, but one of the things I was always trying to do, and which I've always completely failed at in the UK, is get chess on television. But after the Queen's Gambit, I mean, I look at everything I've done, and I think if you multiplied that by 100,000, everything I've done the last 30 years, multiplied by 100,000, that's the Queen's Gambit effect. That's a lesson to us all, really.
What's the lesson here?
The lesson is the power of the media, the power of television. It's that the Queen's Gambit has boosted chess in such incredible ways. I mean, I got an email this morning. The city council in Hull, in this city I was telling you about on the east coast of England, they just put chess tables in the town square. We didn't even ask them. They just did it. And in Liverpool, some local residents asked if they could have chess tables in the park, and the council did it.
Oh.
We just need to spread all these things, because for me, social chess is every bit as important as competitive chess. You have to, if you can increase the base, then competitive chess will develop. I mean, I think one of the great pioneers of this, for example, is I think Leo Battesti in Corsica. What he's done is absolutely fantastic. This idea of giving a free licence, a free membership to all the children. And now I think one of their people is playing on board 5 for France, right? The young guy. I think he's from Corsica, right? And that's, I'm sure, a direct consequence of Battesti's fantastic vision.
Yeah. It's amazing. I've met him, and I find him equally inspiring.
I love talking to him, just ideas going backwards and forwards,
And he hates draws.
Yes, he's not keen on them, is he? Yeah.
But it was amazing. Is there something that we have missed in what you have done? I mean, I'm just very curious. I'm sure you've done a lot of things, but an organizer, you have spread chess in schools, you have taught people chess, you have spread it in the newspapers, you're a journalist, entrepreneur.
Schools, prisons, written a few books. I mean, I think I've also enjoyed doing my media appearances. I've done a lot of those over the years. They've been great. And, well, like everyone else, I've even done a video for Chessable.
Which is on?
Oh, no, I think the most fun thing I ever did in chess, was I was the voice of Fritz.
Oh,
I was the voice of Fritz 5.32. That was one of the funniest couple of days spent with at the ChessBase office in Hamburg with Matthias Wollenweber. And I don't know why they chose me. I think they just thought I was a funny guy, And literally, I thought about it for a couple of days before, but actually, when I came to do it, I just made them all up on the spot. So Matthias said, "Okay, can we have another one on the opening?" He said, I want Fritz to say something silly in the opening. I said, "Okay, let me think." And I said, "Okay, this move, you play this move? But this is Fischer against Smershkovich. St. Petersburg, 1974. You play this against me?" And we just made all these different little sound bites, That was definitely the most fun I've ever had in chess, I think.
And they still use it. Maybe not your voice, but I mean...
They replaced me with a professional German cabaret artist, which was, I'm sure, a very good idea.
Well, Malcolm, it has been an absolute pleasure knowing about you, and I can only just wonder how can someone do so much, and you're just 62.
62 next week.
Next week, yes, 14th of August.
Is it next week?
10 days.
It might be the week after, who
10
knows?
days later.
Yeah.
And amazing, and thank you so much for your contribution to the world of chess. I mean, you might think Queen's Gambit is really huge, but I guess someone who made Queen's Gambit might have been inspired by the work you did. So
who knows? And the good news is I'm being contacted by other people making documentaries and films about chess. So let's just ride the wave, everybody.
Thank you.